Okay, so now I'm going to show you a second method of how to do a split. This again is an easy way of doing it. You don't have to find the queen or anything. It just takes a little bit more equipment. What you're going to use is an extra box that is empty. So just empty box, no frames in it. Queen excluder, again, you can use metal or plastic. A hive tool and a smoker. So let's start with this. Smoke them up a little bit. Pop the lid. Oh, there's plenty of bees in here. I'm gonna smoke the bees. Sorry if the cars are making a little bit too much noise, but I'm gonna smoke the bees down as much as possible. And then I'm taking the top brood box off. Again, you want to set this on top of your hive cover sideways to minimize the amount of bees that you're killing. And then what I'm going to do is take the empty brood box that I just got, and all I'm going to do, this empty brood box, what it's going to do is help me keep the bees inside that box. Again, this method is so that you don't have to look for the queen. It's easy. It just takes a little bit more time. But with this, all you're doing is taking the frames, shaking any bees into that colony, and then by doing that, you're ensuring that if the queen is on one of these frames, she stays in there. So like now we're getting into the frames that have larvae and brood. So I'm not sure if you can see, but there's a brood pattern there. There was nothing here because that's where the varroa strip was at for Viroxan. Other side of it. And all I'm doing with these frames is literally setting them to the side for right now. But I take all my bees, shake them in there. Again, this is another frame of brood, another frame of brood, and at the same time that I'm doing this, I'm trying to see if I could spot the queen. She might be on one of these top frames, but nothing there. Shake everything in there. Your foragers are gonna go out and start flying, and your nurse bees will just fall into the inside. So far I have about 4 frames of brood, and this last one here should be just honey. But we're gonna shake it in there anyways. All right, so once I shake all my bees in there, I take my smoker again. I'm gonna drive them down a little bit. This drives the bees down in between the frames. And then all I'm gonna do is literally take that empty brood box off, smoke them a little bit more, get them all driven down there. I'm gonna take the box that I just emptied with all my frames, set it right back in here. Oh, you know what? I forgot one step. I'm putting my queen excluder. So, queen excluder. And again, it doesn't matter if you have a metal or a plastic excluder. You're just gonna go right back in there. And then I'm gonna put my frames back in. And they're pretty much going in back in the same order that I pulled them out. So there's hardly any bees on these frames anymore. And so what you accomplish by doing this method, again, you keep the queen. Now you know for sure that the queen is going to be in the lower brood box because you shook all the bees in there. And unlike the first method that I showed you, on the first method I said you could come back Oh, there goes my glove. I pinched it in there. Rookie mistake. So, on the first method that I showed you, I said you could come back about 4 to 5 days to see where the queen is laying. On this one here, all we did was shook the bees to the bottom, put the queen excluder, put the brood back up with no bees. The nurse bees will automatically come up to keep the brood cover. So if you wanted to, you could actually come back tomorrow and you know exactly where the queen is at. All you do at that point is literally take your top brood box off and put it on top of a bottom board or another pallet, and that's your split. You just have to make sure that you have either a queen cell or a queen that's a virgin queen or a mated queen ready to go in there. So that's the only thing that you have to make sure that you have. Doing this type of split, now what you're gonna do is, you know that the queen is down in the lower brood box, or at least she should be, because we shook all the bees down to the lower brood box and introduced all the frames with no bees. And if you look at this, there's bees on top already. So they came up, all the nurse bees came up to cover that brood. And then all we're gonna do is go ahead and remove the top brood box and set it on a bottom board or a pallet. And now you know that there is no queen on the top brood box. So that is where you're gonna introduce your either virgin queen, mated queen, or a queen cell. Whatever preference you have. So that's just another way of doing it. Have a great day.